Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another round of Captivz. These are the color change Captivz, and this is Wave 2. We have the full wave. I recently did a video where I unboxed a few of them. I just had a few sent to me by Toymonster International, and then I went ahead and found them at my local Walmart. Actually, like right after I filmed that video, I ended up finding them, and I snagged all of them, the entire case that was there. And then I was actually somehow still missing two, though, because somebody grabbed, I guess, a few of the eggs from there, and then they took some of the first wave eggs and put it back in, which is one of the worst things that can happen when you're acquiring these figures, is somebody can mix them up and mess you all up. But I was able to end up finding the other two, which was the T-Rex and Ankylosaurus, just yesterday. So pretty excited to now have the full wave to look at with you guys. Before we take a look at those, however, we do want to take a quick look, or at least I would think you guys would want to take a quick look at the cards. So you've got the Apatosaurus card, which again, they have that very glittery sort of a look, which looks really cool. Then we also have the T-Rex, which actually sports a greenish color. However, the T-Rex here is brown, unless maybe it'll be a different color or closer to green when we color change, and I'm not too sure. We've got the Ankylosaurus, which you can see actually has a nice mixture of blues and greens. I love these cards so much. Just the artwork and everything on them is so cool. We again have the Atrociraptor, which I think is actually the super rare figure of this wave. We have the Corythosaurus, which is super cool to have a Corythosaurus. Also, again, a really cool image there on that. We've got the Spino, which we actually did take a look at some of these cards when I did that unboxing. We have the Compsognathus as well, which is a gorgeous card. Then there is the Gallimimus, which you can actually see the Gallimimus there, but you've got the Giganotosaurus in the background hunting the Gallimimus, which I don't know why I didn't notice that at first. That's actually really cool. And then you have the Velociraptor, which this Velociraptor in this set is probably one of the coolest looking Velociraptors that we've seen from the Captivz line. We also have the Stegosaurus right there, as well as the Monolophosaurus, which might be one of my favorite Captivz of all time. And then another of my favorite Captivz of all time, we have the Dimetrodon for the final card and the final addition to this line. Let me pull these all out of here. But again, you've got quite a few this time around. Pretty cool wave of color change Captivz that I absolutely did not expect to come out so soon. These were out really quickly. So as always, let's jump straight to a closer look and we'll check them out from there. Now, because all of these figures are figures we have reviewed in the past, we really only need to take a look at the difference in color on these compared to previous releases. And of course, we're going to take a look at the color changing aspect as well. But first of all, when it comes to the Apatosaurus, you can see the Apatosaurus is a very dark tone of color overall, and we have a green striping that kind of moves down through the course of the back. You can see it start like midway down the neck and then runs all the way out onto the tail with that green patterning. We do also have a lighter tone, like a light yellowish tone, for the underside of the Apatosaurus, and we've got painted eyes. If we can get it to focus there, we have nicely painted eyes with a black. So when we change the color of this one, you can now see we've got a light green with a darker green striping. So pretty much the same style of patterning. We also have a lighter yellowish tone moving along the underside, but pretty much the same style of patterning and everything. And you'll notice the figure is definitely wet because I just dipped it in the water to get this coloration out. But as you can see, it very quickly starts to transition back to the original coloration, but pretty decent colors, I guess. We've also got the Velociraptor, and the Velociraptor sports some really cool colors. You can see we've got a lighter tone for the lower part of the dinosaur, and as you move up, you have a mixture of yellows as well as like a maroon sort of red, and then a different, actually, it looks like maybe it's a slight different or the same tone of yellow, but you can see it's actually like a yellowish orange. But again, you can see quite a bit of patterning moving through. Like, it has a ton of that very cool patterning as you move through the course of the figure. You can see again, you've got like a striping effect moving down the leg, and you have more of that as you move out into the tail. We also have green eyes with a slit-like black pupil. The inside of the mouth is painted with a pinkish tone, and the teeth are painted. And again, I'm always just so impressed with how good the paintwork and sculpt work is on these Captivz figures, considering their size. It's always super, super impressive, if you ask me. But as always, we're going to dunk this one into the water and take a look at the other coloration that you'd get with the figure. Oddly enough, mine isn't really changing color in the body very much. Like, the body itself stayed the same color, but the tail and the head changed colors to now like a pinkish sort of a tone with a yellow patterning. But for some reason the body didn't change colors, and I don't know why. I actually have two of this raptor. Let me grab the other one and see if the same thing happens with the other one. So here is the second one. We'll now see if this one changes colors in the body. So, not really. I mean, you can kind of see a light pinkish tone showing up there, but for the most part it stayed fairly dark overall. I guess it kind of lightened up a little bit. That's still pretty intriguing that it doesn't change to that light pinkish tone through the entire figure. We've also got the compy, and the compy this time around sports a nice darker green variation of color, and then we also have a striping effect moving down the back of the compy with a light green mixing in, so some nice coloration. Looks like because I've been touching the other ones, I'm already changing the color of this one, so I guess we're going to have a light green, as we can see that kind of showing up on the feet as well as the tail here. But again, very nice dark greenish tones for this one overall. You've got pretty big eyes on this one. The paintwork for the eyes is definitely pretty large. You can see a pinkish tone for the inside of the mouth as well as the teeth, again painted out, which is always impressive considering how tiny the compy is. And then you have a darker green with the striping effect moving out through the tail, but it looks like it's already trying to change colors. So let's just go ahead and dunk it. And pretty much just as I expected, we now have like a yellowish green for the entire body color with the striping effect still intact. And then the eyes again painted the same way. There's not really any difference in color to the eyes once it changes, but I think the color looks pretty cool on this one. I actually really quite like the brighter tones of color that we have for the compy once it changes color. We've also got the Dimetrodon, and I love the tones of color on this one. We've got a really cool greenish tone. We have a brown moving along the back, and then that same sort of style to the sail that we have in Jurassic World Dominion. So it is almost a Dominion style paint job, because that Dimetrodon in some images I've seen had kind of a greenish sort of a look, but for the most part had a brown, which we have here. And again, you can see my fingers are starting to change the figure colors because it's, you know, my fingers are warm from dipping it in the water with the previous figures. Not really much in the way of color difference down here, but you can see that the green has been applied in a way where it allows the lighter green, I guess, that we're going to change colors to kind of shine through as well. But let's go ahead and dunk the Dimetrodon. It's amazing how quickly they change colors, like instantly. And you can now see that we have basically like a light variation of a tan that shows up with a brown moving along the back, and then an orange sail for the Dimetrodon once we change it colors. And you can now see the green already starting to creep back in. Doesn't take long before it does that, but still pretty cool colors for that one as well. We've also got the Gallimimus, and I think the Gallimimus looks pretty cool. It has a very Jurassic Park sort of coloration to it, if you ask me. We've got like this orangish brown moving along through the majority of the upper side, a lighter tone for the underside, and again some patterning moving through, some nice striping and stuff as you move through the course of the Gallimimus. You can see the eyes are painted as well. Such a gorgeous sculpt on this Gallimimus. I absolutely adore this Gallimimus from Toymonster International. They could release a million different variants of this one. I would never get tired of it. It's just so nice. Easily one of the most accurate looking Gallimimus sculpts that I've seen in any Jurassic toy line. But then when we dip the Gallimimus in the water and change the colors, we have a much brighter variation of an orange now compared to what we just had a moment ago, which is pretty cool. I wish there was a way to like continue to keep them this color. It would be neat to have these slight variations in color like that, but definitely again pretty cool looking Gallimimus. And then we have the Captivz, and you can see the Captivz sports a lighter tone for the underside as well as a green that sort of outlines a reddish tone. And you can see that as you move back, you actually have a little variation of color back here, as you have a reddish tone kind of transitioning to an orange with little bits of greens as well as you lead down the tail, like a lighter green. You can see that the darker green is almost the entire face here as far as the coloration goes. And then you have that red that kind of runs by the beak and up into the crest of our hadrosaur. It looks really cool. Actually, it's more almost like a little bit of a brighter variation of red, bordering on a variation of pink, I would say, up there. But still pretty cool colors for the Captivz. Another really nice sculpt, and again, another really nice species choice. And then we change the colors, and it almost ends up with a Jurassic Park sort of a look. You can see we've got the greenish tones with the darker green outlining it now instead of the reddish tones. Looks like the crest, though, stayed pretty much the same color. But very cool looking. And then we have the rare version of the Atrociraptor, which this time around is basically just a dark brown with blue patterning, and that's really about it. Like, there is not much else going on with this one as far as the colors at all. The mouth is closed. You can see the eyes are painted with what appears to be like a light orangish tone potentially, or a light brown. You can kind of see the teeth actually, I think, painted in there as well, which even though the mouth is closed for the most part, it's sort of snarling. So kind of impressive to see that kind of paintwork there. But then when we dunk the Atrociraptor, boy, did that ever just change colors in a way that I wasn't expecting. We now have like a translucent version, almost sort of resembling Atrociraptor Ghost, with like the white tone that one has, but it's more translucent than anything here on this one. I understand why I guess this one is the rare version, and now the striping is a grayish tone. So that is pretty darn cool. I was not prepared for the way that one was going to change colors. We've also got the Ankylosaurus, which is in a desperate, dire need to be updated to the one that they included in the supersized figures, because this is the older version of the Ankylosaurus. But you can see we have a lighter variation of a blue up here on the head, and even lighter variation of a blue right there in the beak area. But you can also see, again, we've got like a yellowish, sort of a brown tan kind of a color here for the lower body. You have a yellow eye with a black pupil. You can also see the inside of the mouth is painted with a pink, and then you have a darker blue as you move back into the armored area of our Ankylosaurus, as well as, it's hard to really see it, but it looks like the club is basically just the same color as the underbelly here of the Ankylosaurus. Not too much in the way of colors, almost kind of, sort of resembling a bumpy variation, but once you actually dip the Ankylosaurus in the water, you've got a really cool, almost like an aqua version of an Ankylosaurus with a very vibrant bluish tone. I actually would have liked to have seen this be the original color of the Ankylosaurus, because it is just so nice to look at. Takes a figure that's a little bit lacking in the sculpt, but still makes it super cool and appealing looking. You can already see the darker blue, though, creeping back in, but a little bit, Ankylosaurus bumpy-like as far as that coloration as well. Then we've got the Monolophosaurus, which currently is just a greenish tone, and then you have some patterning moving along the back with a variation of a green, it looks like, almost like a military sort of a green, but kind of metallic looking. You've also got a red there on the crest, a black eye. You've got like a grayish tone for the inside of the mouth with like the skin stretching as well as the teeth, and then a pinkish tone for the tongue, which again, it's just so impressive how much variation of color they give these figures. And you can also see a gray here running along the underside, and we can get a little sneak peek, I think, of the coloration of our Monolophosaurus, because it's already starting to try to change colors on me. So let's go ahead and dip it, and then once you do, you are left with a very cool looking version of the Monolophosaurus. That patterning stands out a lot more now that we have like this purplish bluish sort of a tone for the majority of the body color of the Monolophosaurus. But again, looks pretty cool. I really love that sculpt, though. We're at the final three, as we've got the Stegosaurus. This time the Stegosaurus features some really nice greenish tones. I actually really love the colors of the Stegosaurus. We also have a lighter tone for the underside that does creep up into the stomach a little bit. And then you've got red for the plates. And if you know me, I love Stegosaurus that is green with red plates. So instantly, of course, I really like this Stego. We can already see it changing colors again. The Thagomizers are a reddish tone as well, like we see in the plates. And then once you dip the Stegosaurus, you get a yellowish sort of, or like a light orangish Stegosaurus, and then you again still have the red plates. Not a huge fan of the colors of this one once it changes colors. Definitely prefer the greenish version, but still pretty fun to have again that color changing aspect to it. We've also got the T-Rex, which the T-Rex is a dark variation of a brown with a lighter sort of a brown or a tannish tone for the lower jaw and the underside of the T-Rex. You've got the eyes painted a little bit too big there with I think a yellow. Looks like a yellow and a black pupil. Purplish tone for the inside of the mouth, and the teeth are again painted with kind of an off-white. And you can already see it changing colors just like with the others, so it looks like we're going to have a greenish coloration for the T-Rex once we change it, and you can definitely see that is the case. You've got a green, and now that patterning moving down along the back is a brown, and you have a little bit more of that patterning in the face, and then you have almost, I would say, the same color for the underside that we had originally. So I can understand now why the card had a green Rex on it, because our Rex changes to green. And the final figure of the group would be the Spinosaurus. And the Spinosaurus we have seen in the original unboxing that I did from the ones that Toymonster International sent me. We have a dark tone for this one, like a black actually. Originally I was saying it was like a dark gray, so it really resembled the JP3 Spino, which I feel like it definitely gets close, but the tones of color are definitely a bit too dark as it has more of a black than a dark gray. But it looks pretty cool again with these colors on it. Probably one of the nicest looking versions of the Spinosaurus we've had so far. I would really love to see an updated sculpt for this one, though, as they've used this sculpt for quite some time. And then once you dip it, you now have a blue Spino. So that's pretty cool. I was kind of hoping when I dipped it, it would turn into that light gray. Or not really light gray. It's still a fairly dark gray that you would find on the JP3 Spino, but lighter than we had there. But you can see we now have a bluish version with an orange up there in the sail and there on the head. Green eyes, you've got a dark reddish tone for the inside of the mouth there with the tongue, and then a white for the teeth. So again, a pretty cool variation to this Spinosaurus as well. So honestly, I don't think we really need to do much else for these guys. I think we've covered pretty much everything when it comes to these figures, since they are the Captivz line. We're very familiar with the sizes of them, so no measurements or comparisons needed. We really only needed to take a look at what would differentiate these from the previously released figures, which of course is the color change aspect, as well as just in general the colors, because they're different paint variants of previously released figures. But overall, I think they're all really cool. I like the color change gimmick because it's super old school. It's the type of thing that as a child I would have loved, and I definitely would have had some dinosaurs that kind of did that sort of thing when I was younger, so it sort of takes me back. You know, I love the fact that the Captivz line as a whole sports some of the most highly detailed and screen accurate dinosaurs that you'll see when it comes to any Jurassic toy line, but they also still have these throwback action features at times with like the color change aspect, and they've had glow in the dark versions and stuff like that in the past. So definitely enjoy the gimmick of these figures. It is definitely something that I can see kids for sure enjoying, but even me as an adult, again, growing up in the time that I did, I can still appreciate that. And overall, each and every species here looks really cool. Of course, there are a few that could use an update, like the Ankylosaurus and stuff, but as a whole, I think for the most part, the sculpts look great, and some of them look incredible, like the Dimetrodon and the Monolophosaurus, the Gallimimus, the Compsognathus. Like, there's some really, really nicely sculpted figures in here. But as a whole, I would say the colors of all of them look really good, really appealing, and even once they change colors, I still think they look super cool. So again, another awesome round of Captivz from Toymonster International, another round of color-changing Captivz. At this point, though, I would think we're probably going to stray from the color-changing aspect and now move into Chaos Theory, which I know I have seen images of the Chaos Theory figures already, and they look insane. So I'm really excited for those, and of course, again, we're basically just going out with a bang when it comes to these color change Captivz. So if you are interested in grabbing these, I don't know how long they'll be around. Again, with Chaos Theory right around the corner, I would imagine we'd be moving to that soon. So if you are interested in grabbing these figures, make sure you head to your local Walmart as soon as possible and grab these while they are still available. And of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.